was Kayla's peer tutor teacher. I was the special ed teacher that she was assigned to when she went to school here. We are here today to break ground for this garden in memory of a young woman who had a passion and in honor of the students who gave her that passion. Kayla was a peer tutor in my classroom for students with special needs, students with intellectual disabilities, autism, and multiple disabilities. Her best friend, Emily, had invited her to become a peer tutor because Emily also has a passion for these kids. Emily actually works in the classroom with me right now as a paraprofessional and hopes to very soon follow in my footsteps and take over my classroom when I retire, right? So that's why the title of today's event is Passion is Contagious. Kayla came to me one day and said, "How can I have a job working with these kids?" From that day forward, she was committed to a career in occupational therapy and was going to start college that fall. The day after her graduation, her life was ended by a sniper's bullet. But because passion is contagious, her life story doesn't end there. After her parents donated funds to create a lasting program for these students in Kayla's memory, I struggled for years to develop a greenhouse or garden project, but it wasn't until this year when I learned that one of our engineering teachers, Amy Cook, was developing a geodome with her engineering students, that we are now able to coordinate our efforts to finally bring this project to fruition. Many hands are involved in the planning and development of this project. From my friend and garden designer, Sarah Trezinka. Sarah, are you here today? Sarah has a landscaping company, Pili Lani Garden Design, and she began the process of designing our garden for us. To our Special Olympics volunteer and horticulturalist, Betty Falk, over here in the wheelchair, who is also keeping us on track with accessibility planning. Today we break ground to build this friendship garden to Kayla and her kids. And if you'll notice, our jackets say Kayla's kids. Those were bought with some memorial funds, and they are our Special Olympics team uniforms. So we're building this garden as a place to learn job skills, science, social skills, horticulture, and much, much more. Part of this completely accessible garden will contain a sensory path, and it's going to be out there on the grassy areas, and it is marked. And we will have a water feature in the middle here. Our engineering students are planning and building their own accessible geodome, as well as many of our accessible garden boxes. Our students with all kinds of abilities will get their hands dirty and bump elbows together as they grow flowers, herbs, vegetables, and a pollination garden to share with the community. Our vision is that this place will truly become a place to grow lasting friendships and respect. And now I'd like to invite Amy Cook to say a few words.
Hello, my name is Amy Cook. I'm the co-director of engineering and head of the science department, and it is truly a pleasure to be a part of this. A wise man named Paul once said, "Love, joy, peace, kindness, goodness, gentleness, against such things there is no law." And today, the teachers achieve our highest joy in teaching, seeing our students fully embrace love and kindness for those around them, for the ones all around them who add depth to their life with friendship, respect, and camaraderie. You see, we can teach them reading, writing, science, math, and history, but to teach them compassion, empathy, and the value of hard work is to give them the tools to truly live their best life. That is the heart of education. Every year we seek to infuse a sense of community and responsibility in our lessons because we understand the bigger picture and how the students will use it later. This year, my students chose to work on a greenhouse together. When I learned of Janet Parker's efforts towards Kayla's Friendship Garden, I knew this was an opportunity to join together as a school and be a part of something bigger than ourselves. I announced to my science and engineering students that we would be helping to build the garden and also contribute a geodome greenhouse. You can see it over there. There's an outline on the other side of the sidewalk. So the students could continue their work even in the colder months. My AP Environmental students have been studying sustainable agriculture. My engineering and AP Physics students have been studying sound structures and being good stewards of the resources we use. So this plan is the perfect marriage between those concepts. Not only does it interweave the different academic disciplines, but it brings our students at all levels of ability and academics together. So when I brought this news to my students, their immediate reaction was their eyes lit up and their faces filled with joy. Some of the students we would be working with are ones that they have known their whole lives, and yet they part ways in the hall as they go to their different classes. But here they get to come together. Right away the students had questions. How can we help? They were excited to do something that would help all the students be included and celebrated. This isn't just a garden. This is a way to come together and work as a family, the Charger family. But this isn't a surprise at all how they reacted. My Charger students, these amazing young people, have a big heart, and they've proven over and over again their capacity for selflessness. As we often say on our campus, it is simply the Charger way. I look forward to seeing their teamwork and their creativity as they build and shape this garden together. This is a labor of love that will be a symbol for future generations of the powerful things that can happen when we come together for our community. Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce Kayla's mother, Roxanne Thornton. We will speak a few words and then we will get on with our groundbreaking ceremony.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to everyone who has worked over this past decade to bring us to this point today. Most of all, thank you to Ms. Parker for carrying the torch for us. There are times when her family and I just had to step back from this, but Janet carried it forward every step of the way. For that, I'm thankful. The results of this effort and this combined effort with the engineering group will be beyond anything I could have imagined. As Janet said, I'm Kayla's mom, and as her mom, I got to watch her passion for working with students with special needs grow into this beautiful path that she had planned out for her entire life. A path that was cut short by an evil that we won't allow to overshadow her beauty. Kayla decided she wanted to graduate high school a year early, something I was not real thrilled about. But she proved herself to be up for the task, and as we sat in the counselor's office putting together her final year schedule, we found that there was a hole in the schedule that needed to be filled. She signed up to be a peer tutor so she could hang out with her best friend Emily. She had no idea the seed that was planted in her life that day. Within the first few weeks, all Kayla could talk about was what happened in this class and my kids did this and that. Every conversation would start with, Mom, today my kids, and she would tell me all of these great things that she was observing and experiencing. I don't remember how long it was, but I do remember the conversation that I believe was the turning point for her to realize that this was her lifelong passion and prompted that conversation with Ms. Parker. She came home and she was telling me about one of her friends from this class. They were talking that day, and as high school conversations would go, the conversation turned to boys and makeup. And as this young lady told Kayla about the crush she had, Kayla's mindset started to shift from being an advocate and a fierce defender or protector of those with special needs to a realization that beyond the differences, these students in that classroom were just like her. What a profound and realization and acknowledgement. And as she told me about this, all I could do was stand there and stare at her. And she looked up and was like, "What, Mom? I'm serious. She's just like me. She wants a boyfriend. She wants to be happy." And I just smiled at her and said, "I know, but I love how you see this too." From there, her
future began to blossom. She started looking at courses at school and a program at TCC that would allow her to get all that she needed in the next 2 years to be able to work in her chosen profession while completing school. She, when enrollment opened for that fall session, she loaded her little brother up and drove him downtown, someplace she hated driving, and went to the school to get signed up. Our plan was to meet there and do this together, but she was impatient, she couldn't wait, and by the time I made it there, she was in the bursar's line texting me feverishly to hurry up and get there with my checkbook. I made it, and she was so excited, her face was lit up, and she was telling me how she was able to plan all of her classes to go to school Monday through Thursday so that she could be here every Friday, at high school that she wanted out of yearly, to be with her kids. She realized how important they were in her life, and she couldn't imagine not spending time with them. After her murder, it was important to me, to her family and her friends, that we honor her passion and her purpose, and this garden is a part of that. My fervent prayer for this garden is that students can come to this garden and feel the joy of working the earth, planting seeds for future beauty, having the fulfillment of watching those seeds grow. But more than that, my prayer is that this garden provides a place where special needs students and their typical peer students come together and form a bond and find a common ground, and that from that bond grows in those peers that realization that Kayla had come to, that beyond the differences, we are all the same. And what grows from that realization is a whole new crop of young people who go out into this world as advocates and protectors from bullies, and with an intentional act to make this world a better place for everyone living in it. Ms. Parker, thank you for making this happen.
All right, the big time is finally here. So I'm going to introduce each of our honorary groundbreakers. And we're going to grab our shovels, but we're going to wait for our countdown and turn the soil all together. And then I have a few more. I want to give you instructions before you leave so that you can get to know our garden area. So first of all, we have Leo Hickman, who is a current student in our multiple disabilities class, and one of our amazing peer tutors, John Caballero.
Yeah.
Who I'm afraid is graduating this year. Our next our next helper is Keno Pruitt, who knew Kayla and was in one of the special ed classes that Kayla worked with. So he was one of the students Kayla helped. And assisting him will be our Emily Edwards. And on the other side, we have Monty Smith, who is currently in one of our autistic classes. And assisting him will be Bailey LeBlanc, who is another one of our absolutely wonderful peer tutors. And when do you graduate, Bailey? Okay, so we get her for a couple more years. She's just amazing too. And then Mrs. Cook and I will be shoveling together, and then Kayla's mother, and Roxanne, and her father, Paul Ferrante, will also come up and help with digging some dirt. And after we're done turning the dirt, anybody who wants to come up and turn some dirt is welcome to come up and do a little photo op if you want to. Okay, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3, dig! Yay! This is a symbolic groundbreaking. This is mark the areas yet, but it's still very, very meaningful. So what we have over here a drawing that was done by Amy Cook and with the help of Sarah Chuzinka, who drew an initial drawing and then Amy redid it. So that's a drawing showing the layout of the Geodome area and the Friendship Garden areas. And then you notice we have signs marking where the different sections of the garden are going to be. And where the Geodome is going to be. So you are welcome to come turn some soil in Kayla's memory, and then feel free to wander around and picture in your minds what this garden is going to become. And then we hope that in the future, when we have an official grand opening for the garden, that maybe we can have another ceremony. Thank you all for coming this